Hi, everyone. Welcome back to John's Briefs. We're here at C2 Tactical in Scottsdale with Tim Forshey, one of the best criminal defense attorneys in all of America. I claim it. Therefore, it's so.
13,000 people out there writing letters to the editor right now. So.
We're going to get letters.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim, for being here.
As always, thanks for having me.
And we want to talk about, we had this case of a woman who had two guys snag her purse out of her car after trying to take her out of her car, and then a little while later, she went bowling for bad guys with one of them and got away with it. And okay, 2 thumbs up, except for I want to ask the attorney how likely this kind of outcome is.
Firearms Legal Protection is who I trust to help me after a use of force incident. If you're a Firearms Legal Protection member, I will also be on your team as a consulting expert, and you can attend our monthly active self-protection training seminars for free. Check out all they offer to their members at the link below.
We all have, schadenfreude is a real thing, right?
Thank God, right? Because you just have to take comfort where you can find it.
Right,
So,
and okay, don't start none, won't be none. So he hadn't grabbed her purse, he wouldn't end up going over her hood, and
As you always say, he put a quarter in the jukebox. Now let's watch you dance.
He gets to dance to the tune. And I got no love lost for some a-hole who, steals from somebody, tries to get him out of their car, and yet he runs off. He's off down the road a good ways, and she decides, you know what? I've had it with this guy.
I'm not done.
It ain't happening. I also thought it was pretty funny that one of the gas station attendants saw where her purse went when she hit him, and went and grabbed it and gave it back to her. That's
You deserve this for sure.
peak
You
justice.
earned this back.
Peak justice. Had that happen in the U.S., what do you think ends up happening from that?
I always hate to pluck the same guitar string, but I think that it's really, truly going to depend upon where this happened, when it happened, what's the political climate.
Attorney saying it depends.
But I'm sorry to say that. But again, do you really think that Kyle Rittenhouse had been prosecuted if that had been a different setting than the one that we had?
No,
Politics
obviously
plays a role here. Race plays a role, and public relations and the political motivations of everybody all play a role. So it's South Africa, from what I understand, never having been there, way different situation than what we've got here.
Yeah.
I think if some, they'll probably be calling her Karen in the press here. If some Karen decides that vigilante justice is going to work out for her because some guy's got her purse, and 45 seconds after he takes her purse, she runs him over with a car, there's the same part of me saying, God bless you, that we all probably have. But I got to be pragmatic and say, I think in the U.S., I would say at least 50% likely to lead to severe prosecution.
Yeah. Because again, she put him at risk of death.
Yep.
Or great bodily harm. So this isn't even she ends up slapping him upside the head.
Right.
Excuse me. But instead, she easily could have killed him in this case. No different than, okay, he runs off 45 seconds down the road and she pulls a gun and shoots him.
Right.
Same thing, right?
Except for arguably cars are more deadly than guns.
Yeah, I would say a car is highly, highly likely to cause somebody's death. And so I don't feel bad for the guy.
I don't either. I'm not losing any sleep. I guess there's a part of me that says I'm glad he didn't die. I hope he's got a broken leg that gives him a limp the rest of his life, so he remembers where that lifestyle led him.
But I guess, okay, if in your town you know the actual district attorney, not just some ADA, but you know the real actual elected district attorney, and you guys play squash once a week or whatever, your kids.
Pickleball.
Yeah, you play pickleball. They say squash. I'm old school, right? So yeah, you play pickleball with the DA and her husband. Or something like that. Your kids go to the same school, which probably means you've got a bunch of money too. You might get away with that kind of stuff, if you're well connected. That's how the world works. Yeah. If you're a regular working stiff, now all of a sudden the justice system gets pointed at you.
Amen.
And lest I remind you, Tim, if somebody under these circumstances, say this woman that happens, and there's been all this investigation, and then she goes, hey, the DA said they're considering what they're gonna do, and she calls you and says, I need representation to make sure this goes well. What kind of retainer might you be looking for that kind of thing?
So no charges yet?
No charges yet.
So this would be me doing trying to get all my dominoes lined up to successfully rebut a prosecution.
Yeah, we don't know what the prosecutor.
I would say for my fees and for the experts that I'm going to get involved, because I'm going to probably get, I'm certainly going to have you go through at least one polygraph. I'm certainly going to get my best private investigator to do a deep dive on this guy and his associate and try to find out what kind of scumbags we're dealing with here and be able to prove it in court. I would say you're probably looking at probably in the ballpark of 50 grand, somewhere in there. and that's pre-charges. And I'd probably put that in my trust account, and then go back and look at if I'm able to get a statement of no true bill from the prosecutor within the next 30 days, I'm probably going to refund you a bunch of that money. But I'm also going to make sure I'm not working for free and spending weekends away from my kids. So I'm going to put 50 grand in my trust account and see how far that gets us. It could easily exceed that, but I'm going to make sure that I've got my bottom line covered before I take that on. Yeah.
So remember, you might go, well, wait a minute, Dar, that's not fair. You should be able to do that stuff. You don't expect this man to work for free. You don't expect him because he's going to hire private investigators. He's going to hire polygraph operators. He's going to, do all that stuff. All those people got to get paid. Right? And you can't expect them to work for nothing. Can't expect him to take time off his other cases and work for nothing. Guess what? As he's taking that time off, his secretary continues to get paid, their rates.
My mortgage is still due.
Mortgage is still due. Error and emissions.
But it costs a lot of money to run a business. Whether it's a law firm or a plumbing company, it costs a lot of dough.
Yeah. Still got to pay all your association fees. Got to put the electricity at the office. And pay the rent there and all that stuff, right? So somebody's got to pay for that.
That's
and
right.
The person who I'm working for is the one who is going to pay for it. So is it worth it?
Not to me.
Not to me.
No.
And now I get it. Somebody's going to say...
And again, that all assumes that we keep the charges from being filed. Let's say that doesn't happen. They file charges anyway. Okay, you got another 100? Because to try to keep it, to get the best outcome pre-trial, I'll probably charge you another 100. If that doesn't work out, we got to go to trial. You got $500,000.
Right.
I mean, that's the kind. So, nobody smart makes those kinds of decisions because you didn't get that wealthy that you can't afford that by flushing that kind of money down a toilet.
Now, I know the counter argument says, well, but now he's got her purse, and so he's got her address on her driver's license and the keys to the house. Well, maybe he does have the keys to the house. I don't know the last time I kept a set of house keys in that stuff in my purse.
It's called a merce.
I used to carry a man bag. It's a satchel. Indiana Jones carries one. But even there, like I enter my house through my garage.
And again, the risk that you might be the victim of a follow-up home invasion is perhaps legit, but it's not the reason that you run somebody over right now.
Let's think about pragmatically. Just pragmatically, cost of an attorney. This goes down. I'm gonna run him over 50 grand. I pay somebody to rekey my house.
Yeah.
Significantly less.
$400.
Yeah, $400 or $500 to run through and put new keys in the house. And okay, everybody, here's your new keys. Take the old ones, throw them away. And maybe even if I said, hey, and then I want to put a security system all the way around the house.
Spend another $2 grand on a really great security system. It's still going to be a lot cheaper than hiring an attorney.
A lot cheaper than hiring an attorney, and the stress of waiting for the shoe to drop from the prosecutor.
People don't ever. I get people all the time. Well, how long do they have to make up their mind on this?
Forever.
Well, if there's a fatality, forever.
Yeah.
If there's not a fatality, basically 7 years. So good luck getting a good night's sleep. I mean, because at any point in time, that other shoe could fall. So, and people just, they want closure, but the problem is the state doesn't give closure sometimes. They don't ever say, we're not going to prosecute. They just say, we don't intend to prosecute at this time.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. We don't intend to prosecute at this time. That might change later. And also, the prosecutor they're just doing a job too. They're just a person that got hired at the law firm of your local town, Inc. And they go home and don't think about you anymore.
And when the new county attorney gets elected 2 years from now with a totally different stance on the use of force, guess what? Those charges are still out there and they can be resurrected at any time. So yeah, it's just so risky to get involved in stuff like this.
And in this case, it all worked out for her. And I actually, from my own personal soul, I like the outcome here.
He wasn't killed. Hopefully he was hurt pretty good. She didn't get prosecuted. Yeah, I think the world turned. It's like the lessons were learned.
He got turned into a hood ornament.
Yeah.
Stupid should hurt. And in this case, it does. He didn't die, so maybe he gets to reform himself and live another day. And otherwise, he gets to walk with a limp, at least as a lesson. It's the old Irish blessing, right? May those who love us, and may those who don't love us, may God turn their hearts, and if he can't turn their hearts, may he turn their ankles, that we may know them by their limping. It's my people. But okay, fine. I got no love lost for this guy, and I wish this was a good outcome all the time in some sense, because it feels right to me.
Yep.
But I've said this on the channel before. Sometimes I would prefer to live in the world I like, but I gotta live in the world I do live in.
You gotta be realistic.
I gotta live in the actual world I live in.
And this could have gone again in the U.S., especially in certain cities in the U.S. I don't see this going the way it went in South Africa. So.
It's one of those, can I use deadly force here? Well, she got away with it, so she could.
If you're asking yourself at the time, or even later, can I or could I have used lethal force? You've already answered your question. You're alive and you didn't use lethal force. That means you made the right decision.
It means you did it right.
It's I always tell people, if you're in fear for your life, you're not going to have that conversation. And if you're not in fear for your life, we're having a very strange conversation.
Yeah.
So, you'll hopefully you'll know when it happens. But if you have time to ask yourself, can I use lethal force here? Again, as the way I always say, it's not a hunting license. It's not discretionary.
Yeah, and you might. I mean, I've seen grand juries in Lubbock. That guy needed killing.
Yeah, the bastard needed killing.
I've seen it in rural Georgia. He needed killing. Man, even in those places, though, gosh, man, I wouldn't trust that. So do me a favor, please. I want you to hear from your friend John, hear from your friend Tim. Only use deadly force when it's a must.
When there's no alternative.
There's zero alternative to save your life. Yep. And if you do that, I don't think you worry about prosecution.
If you really can follow that rule, I agree with you. I think the system works about 99.5% of the time.
Yep. You'll still need to hire an attorney. There'll still be thousands of dollars, but of course you'll pay that because the alternative is you dead. Or somebody you love is dead.
That's right.
And you're like, maybe it cost me 30 grand to get away from the dead. Okay, I'll pay it. I'll pay with the sleepless nights.
If you literally had no choice, then that's the best $30,000 you
ever spent in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. Or of course, for those of us on that financial end, I do recommend firearms legal protection because they'll keep a big chunk of that financial liability from coming your way. Okay, that's important stuff.
And they do, by the way. You hear a lot of people criticizing that, but I just had an FLP and one of their competitors within the last few months, and no questions asked. They paid my retainer. I did my job. It really does work. I know there's a lot of criticism out there on the web, but it does work.
I don't think there should be because I hear these cases all the time. And here, we had a use of force, and the company, they were contracted with them, and we dealt with the problem. The problem went away, and they paid me my retainer fee, and we were good. Have a nice day. We don't see these come to court very often because, of course, we don't see defense cases come to court very often. They usually go pretty quick, but they are what they are. Well, Tim, really appreciate the insight.
As always, buddy, you bet. South Africa.